There was actually AI news this week. GPT-4 was released from OpenAI. Google announced AI tools in Gmail and Docs. Microsoft, its own AI tools in Office. Let's start with GPT-4, which, frankly, the things people have done with it in just the handful of days that it has been publicly available are kind of mind-blowing. James, what's going on here?
So this has been awaited and hyped and rumored for a long time. GPT-3 came out in, 2022. 3.5 has been powering ChatGPT. So people have been waiting for this, and there's been a lot of pressure on OpenAI about what they're going to do with this. They've given it to a lot of people already, I feel. They've already got it in a lot of products. I think this is the point at which, you look back at the first GPT paper, which was in 2018. Obviously, it's a research paper. GPT-4 is straight out of the gate. It's a product. It is something that is being used by Stripe. It's being used by Morgan Stanley. It's being used by Duolingo. It's being used by all these companies already. So I think the excitement with GPT-4 is that it is a fully fledged product. There are all these interesting novelties. You load up Twitter and you cannot escape some thread of someone saying, here's why GPT-4 is going to be the most revolutionary thing since the steam engine, since fire, since whatever. And a lot of those are truly very impressive. But we've seen in the past with technologies like this that consistency, that truthfulness continue to be big problems for these language models. And obviously, we also have the Microsoft news, which we'll get to later, that they're putting GPT-4, they're using it throughout their Office suite in order to help with the sort of drudgery of Office tasks. So yeah, it's a huge story. It's been everywhere, but people are still really trying to assess how much of a revolution this is. The big thing that it does that earlier iterations didn't do is it can process images as well as text. So you can show it a visual input of some sort, whether that's a meme or a diagram, and it will be able to answer questions for you. One demo of this was you show it a picture of the inside of your fridge. It recognizes what's inside there and gives you recipes to make. However, that's not a skill, a functionality that is widely available yet. So far, we've only got the chat input and output really available to the public. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that we're going to have to process as this sort of rolls out and people test it more.
One of the things that is weird to me about this rollout, and I'm curious how you've processed it, James, is that on the one hand, like you said, this is the most product-y thing OpenAI has ever done. To wild degrees, right? Like they're charging money for these things now. They're closing their research wings and not showing people a lot less about what they're doing, which we should get to in a minute. But then at the same time, Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, has been out here sandbagging GPT-4 for like months. In every interview, he's like, this thing isn't going to be as good as you think. We haven't solved everything. He keeps saying like it's less impressive the longer you use it, which is just a deeply hilarious thing to say about your own product. Like what does OpenAI actually think of this, do you think?
It's really interesting to look at what he says depending on who his audience is going to be. And I think when he's saying these things about dumbing down people's expectations, he's often speaking to not the mainstream crowd per se, but he's speaking to a sort of hardcore of AI researchers within Silicon Valley who are very concerned about existential risk, for example. These are people who think that the current path we're on is that AI is going to become, this out of control entity that acts on its own instructions, acts under its own regards, and starts messing up things on the internet. So he's definitely speaking to them. He's saying, look, guys, it's not at that point. You need to calm down.
So he's trying to convince them that it's not the end of the world, like literally the end of the world. Okay.
But he's doing this rhetorical trick. Oh my God, I should have looked this up beforehand. Litosis, I think it's called, where you bring up something in order to say that it's not a thing. It's like, I would never dream of talking about my opponent's lechery. I would never even accuse him of, visiting brothels or whatever it is. And Altman is sort of doing that with AI. He's saying, do not even worry about this being the world-destroying super intelligent computer that's going to take over the world. We would never, we'd have that so under control. Don't even think about it. And then suddenly everyone's going, oh my God, they're building a super intelligent computer? I think that's what he's doing as well, is that he is very clever at using people's cultural expectations of AI in order to gin up excitement. And if you look at the trajectory that OpenAI has been on under his command, it's worked fantastically. They are rolling in money. They are beating Google. They are, Microsoft is working for them in some ways, in terms of the Azure supercomputer that they've built for them. Like OpenAI are, from a sort of business competition standpoint, doing incredibly well. And a lot of that is to do with how Altman masters that sort of rhetoric in the open field.
But he's also doing it to like cover up the fact that it is kind of dangerous. People do have concerns, and he hasn't addressed any of the facts of like how it can be a major tool for misinformation, right? Like he's doing successful on the business stuff at genuinely the potential cost of like major parts of
sure.
our
And
society.
the evidence of that,
Yeah.
Alex, I completely agree. The evidence of that is that they have closed down the research function. It's
Yeah.
OpenAI is a misnomer now. They've closed it down. And James, they
Yeah.
have told you that their previous
Yeah.
approach to building in the open was, I think the word they actually used was, we were wrong.
Yeah, flat out wrong was the quote I got from Ilya Sutskever, who is chief scientist, co-founder. So he was one of the original 7 or 8 figures, along with Altman, along with Elon Musk, he's no longer connected with the company, who founded OpenAI. And again, they are speaking to this idea of AI safety and AI risk. And, the tricky thing about this is, not the tricky thing, the fascinating thing about it is that everyone disagrees. Some people think you should have open AI systems because only the community can truly stress test these things. And I think there's, obviously we look at what happened to the Bing chatbot. Microsoft obviously rushed that out.
The most stress tested.
But it got stress tested by the entire internet over the space of a couple of weeks, and they, in a way that was very bad for Microsoft to put out such a easily breakable product. But I bet Microsoft was also pretty happy with the fact that they got all this fascinating and useful data about how to improve it.
Oh, Microsoft went from no one ever talking about Bing to a lot of people being like, I think Bing is in love with me, which is an incredible journey for any brand to go on.
Yeah, they got a lot out of it, and some people think that OpenAI's research should be open for the same reason. Others think that, as Sutskever told me, that because it is now getting potentially dangerous, that means it should be closed off. However, I want to stress that he gave 2 reasons. He gave one was the business reason, in that we don't want our rivals to copy us, and the second was the safety reason, in that we think this could be a threat to society. And he said right now the business reason is foremost. So I think Microsoft has probably had a word. I think at this point, the amount of money that Microsoft has behind this product and the amount of which their brand is currently tied to this AI and what it can do, we have their new announcement for them today. I think Nadella said, we can't be giving these secrets away to Google when we are suddenly in a chance to overturn their position in a lot of in a lot of markets. So a lot of people are incredibly mad at OpenAI because they were, to use the Star Wars meme, they were the chosen one. They were supposed to save AI research by making sure that everything would be developed for the benefit of humanity. That's like part of their original mission statement. And now they are another corporate actor like anyone else. And if you're really worried about AI risk, you might now see them as someone who is accelerating AI risk because they are developing it based on business interests, not on ethical and safety interests. So it's a big trouble.
Maybe the most prominent critic there, Elon, who, surprise, Elon has an opinion about something online. But Elon, initial investor in OpenAI, and I think his tweet was very curious how my $100 million investment into an OpenAI project has turned into a $30 billion for-profit company. Which, Elon baggage aside, that is a very direct statement of the problem. Right, here is this thing that was started as a nonprofit to reduce this risk and has now become a very profitable private company.
Increasing the risk.
Yes, yeah. The tricky thing is that the nonprofit still exists. OpenAI has an incredibly bizarre corporate structure, which I'm probably not fully qualified to explain all the details of, but essentially it has a nonprofit controlling entity and then a capped profit entity that makes all the money. And that is controlled by the charter of OpenAI, and they have this big promise in the nonprofits charter that as soon as they think anyone in the world is 2 years away from developing a super intelligent AGI, they will stop all business work that they're doing and work towards helping that project be launched safely. Now, in one way, it's obviously very admirable. Some people see it as very admirable to be like, yes, okay, we'll give that up in order to have the safe thing first. On the other hand, it's also, for lots of critics, complete bullshit. Who has a definition of what a super intelligent AI is? They can change that whenever they like. There is, if OpenAI has proved anything, it's that they're extremely malleable. And if they've proved what their goal is at the moment, is making money for Microsoft. That's it.
And what's been weird to me about this is, on the one hand, it does totally fly in the face of everything that OpenAI has ever said about what it wants to be as an organization. But on the other hand, they've been kind of telegraphing this for a long time. And my running theory for the last 6 months has been that this happened much, much, much faster than anybody at OpenAI thought. And that somewhere in the last 12 months, the executive team there, and frankly, the whole tech industry went oh my God, this is here. This is real now. We can do this. And somebody at OpenAI went oh no, we're screwed if we don't figure out how to do this. And somebody at Microsoft, potentially including somebody like Satya Nadella, was we need to pull as much of this under our own auspices as possible. And I don't know. I just can't stop thinking everybody thought this was going to be a 2027 problem, and then turned around in September and was oh shit, we should probably start doing this now.
Google is just lost, right? And Google's errors along the way to not let people play with the product or demonstrate it convincingly have created a perception that is very far behind, whether or not that is true. They're giving away one of their models, but the good one, Lambda, that the guy thought was alive, we haven't really seen it in action. It's going to get rolled out into some of these products. James, I'm very curious. The Facebook model was leaked. You can just torrent it. Weird things have started happening with that model. That has implications for safety. I think that's going to be the first kind of big test case of what happens when these models are just literally out in the open. And in the meantime, I don't want to lose sight of this. The things we have seen from GPT-4 this week are legitimately amazing.
Yeah.
Right? I took a photo of a hand-drawn sketch of a website and it coded the website for me and it works, is amazing. I saw one person feed into it, code me a game where the right side is Pong and I control the paddle and the left side is the game of life. It worked. It just worked. I can't do that. That is a capability I didn't have, and now I can just will it into existence by telling a robot to make it for me. I've seen people fully code Swift UI iOS apps.
Yeah, did you guys see the one where the guy built an app that would recommend 5 movies to him every day?
Yeah.
That to me is it's such a, for whatever reason for me, all of the Chat GPT stuff has just been a movie recommendation service. It's all neat and whatever, but I can say I like heist movies and I have Amazon Prime and Netflix. What movies should I watch tonight? And it does it successfully and it's incredible. And this guy was he basically, with some back and forth with GPT-4, built an app that every day recommends 5 movies, pulls in trailers, pulls in information, and it just does it. No coding, no nothing. And then, at least according to his thread, basically copied and pasted it and submitted it to the App Store. It's nuts.
Right. So there's something underlying that is important, which is he knew how to make an iOS app. And so the thing writing the code, ChatGPT couldn't do the work, as James was pointing out. It might be able to deduce the nuclear codes, but it can't go push the buttons for you.
Right.
And Sam Altman is and we'll never let it do that, wink, wink. This is it can write a bunch of Swift code because there's a bunch of Swift code on the internet for it to go look at. But it can't actually put it into Xcode. It can't actually hit compile. It can't tell you if it's going to work or not, right? This is the examples here are a human being working with that system almost as a peer, right? And going back and forth together in a way that even the previous GPT 3.5 iteration of ChatGPT was not up to that standard. So that's really impressive. But the idea that now it's a business, and the GPT-4 announcement came with a lot of sort of API customer announcements, as you were saying, James. Now other businesses can depend on this to run their business. That's the turn. And that's where I think Casey and Zoe had it in Platformer this week, that Microsoft is scaling down its ethical AI research investment because they're the people who say no. And now you're well, there's money here, so we're going to start saying yes at a higher rate.
So the turn here, it seems to me, isn't that ChatGPT got better, the AIs got better. It's that we realized we could make money. We figured out how to profit off of them, and we found that the profit was better than the potential moral ramifications of releasing this thing that has is a major misinformation tool.
James, do you think that's accurate to say?
Is that accurate? Yeah, James, I mean, call me bullshit if it's bullshit, but that's my read.
I think that is 100% part of the dynamic. And I think that is why this lack of information that OpenAI released for GPT-4 in particular has stung people, because they were founded as a non-profit where they were supposed to be above these corporate motivations. And obviously they proved that they're not. Their reason for getting into bed with Microsoft was that they needed a huge amount of computing power in order to create these systems. And Microsoft or some other corporate partner was necessary to provide that. And I speak to a lot of people in the AI policy world, and this is one of the big things they're really worried about, is that only corporations can build these systems, and corporations have very different incentives, have incentives that are not necessarily aligned with the rest of society. And that is not a controversial statement. You look at the history of any chemical manufacturer, DuPont or whoever it is, or any industrial supplier, they will always make decisions consistently make decisions where people's safety is just not first and foremost. So Alex, I think you're completely right that this is part of what is happening now. The interesting, or the thing that makes this so knotty, is that you have people who believe not that this is say a minor hazard to society, misinformation or propaganda or spam, but it is an existential threat to society, that it's going to turn everything into paper clips and it's going to turn us all into grey goo. It's very difficult to pull apart those two strands of thinking and to know what is motivating whom, because a lot of people in Silicon Valley who are building this stuff, you look at surveys and they're like, yeah, I fully believe this is a huge threat to humanity. And then you kind of go, well, why are you building it then, man? and they say, because I think I can help it be less of a threat. And that's very real as well. So pulling apart what is a corporate motivation and what is an existential, a philosophical motivation, it's very, very difficult.
Yeah. I think that the thing that gets me right now is we're so on the verge of there being a robot internet where robots are making SEO spam for other robots to read and turn into affiliate links, and then a human internet where real people are just writing fanfic for each other or whatever.
Yeah, this was another GPT-4 experiment where a guy was like, he started a conversation with it and was like, I've got a budget of $100. I want you to make me money. Tell me what to do and I will do it. And he ended up, the GPT-4 came up with this idea of starting an affiliate link website for green gadgets.
Beautiful.
And so it coded the website for him. It decided what gadgets to put in there, and it is this is happening as we speak now. So I don't know how far it's doing, but it started making a little trickle of money. I'm pretty sure. But also it started making money because people started investing in it, because everyone knew that the thread was going viral on Twitter, so it was bound to get some click through. So it became this sort of it ruined the experiment immediately. It was not an isolated experiment. But that is one way. And we saw this news with LinkedIn this week that they're now saying GPT-4 will write your user bio for you.
Yeah, and then LinkedIn already has prompts, like AI written prompts, and then people answer it, and then it generates AI written articles. What, I don't know, how to be a workfluencer or whatever it is on LinkedIn. There's a whole universe of robot internet to come, right? And
a lot of AI moons.
A lot of AI moons. And it's like, if you're shopping for a desk, and you know what the answer is, you have to slice your way through the AI chum that is designed to convince Google its people and land at here, just buy this desk or whatever. And I think that there's a parallel human internet that will be created out of all this. This is just my this is
Will it
my
just
theory.
be Reddit?
Yeah, it's like Reddit. There's another kind of social networking that is to come, in particular on the internet.
Yeah.
Where people are pretty good at spotting the chat GPT output. They're better than the AI systems are at detecting it. And they are certainly good at spotting boring stuff, which is the vast majority of what is produced.
Yes.
And that's my optimistic take on it, is that eventually it'll be more profitable for the robots to just be robots at each other. like we'll all just like hang out somewhere. We're just gonna like be in a V bulletin that hasn't been updated since 2004, and that'll be fine.